Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this coffee hour forum. Continuing our forums on the various ministries of our church, we are going to have three folks talking about the pastoral care ministries at St. Michael's. They represent one or more of those pastoral care ministries, and what I would like for each of you to do to get us started is just introduce yourself and talk about the ministry or ministries that you engage in. Why don't we start with Tom?
I'm Tom Addison.
Yeah, up here. It's on.
Yep. I'm Tom Addison. The ministry I'm working on is the lay Eucharistic visitor, and that involves the way I describe it, taking the church out to those who can't attend. We are licensed to give the elements to people who can't attend church for any number of reasons. Either they may be ill, they may be just infirm and can't come. And our job is to take the elements, and it comes in a little kit, out to the people. We'll often just spend time with them, getting to know them, sharing our story, trying to develop a relationship after we've served the communion. And I'm finding it very, very meaningful for me, and hopefully for those that we do. We get a chance to meet people that otherwise we might never have known, hear stories that are interesting and worthy of sharing, and I just find it, frankly, very rewarding for me. I hope it is for those who I'm taking communion out to. It's a simple process. It doesn't take anything other than the ability to read a rather simple little communion pass out that we have here, and we go through that, and it's maybe a 5-6 minute effort, and after that, then it's an opportunity to share our love of Christ. And I often, if I can remember, and it's a good, strong sermon, I'll try to remember this. What was said in the sermon.
Just for the record, Tom, how often does that happen? 20% of the time? 10?
I refuse to answer. That's a Fifth Amendment question. So anyway, it's a wonderful opportunity to share your love of Christ with others. And if you've got any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Is this Eucharist on demand, or is it always on a Sunday or a Saturday, or when?
Thank you for
So
asking.
for the folks that are doing the recording, can you just ask that again, please, Bill?
Thank you. My question was, is this Eucharist on demand, or is it always on a Saturday or always on a Sunday? Thank you.
That's a good question, and up until recently, we were just getting organized here at St. Michael's in terms of that. Wendy has a list of people who would like and benefit from this, and she's kind of assigns those of us who are lay Eucharistic visitors to these people. And generally, it's convenient to do it right after church. We try to visit these people at least once a month, and if not more. And if you do it right after church, you can take a bulletin with you, maybe a red door, and it gives you just an immediacy, and you can remember the sermon that way. And,
Take them a bulletin.
Yeah, take them a bulletin, right. And so, thanks for the question.
Where does the communion come from, Tom? How does that work with the communion itself?
Well, I hope I'm answering the question that you're asking. The wine has already been
Mm-hmm.
blessed and consecrated, and it's in the ambry, which is up beside the altar on the left side as you're facing it. And that wine is the wine we use. We carry a kit with a little bottle, pour the wine, a little bit of wine in that, and some wafers. And that answers it.
Yeah, that's
Answers
what I
your
was
question. Yes, Bill.
And then my other question is, so do you take the kit with you after church, then do you keep it in your car, you bring it right back to the church, or if someone's going once Eucharist midweek, how does that work?
I had a kit in my car for a long time, and I suggest not doing that. I just spent a good portion yesterday cleaning out the bottle that the wine was resting in. But we do bring them back with us because there may be something that comes up during the week, and we just take them back home and keep them in places that won't get too hot or anything.
How many kits do we have?
And we need,
When you probably know better.
as we were finding out about who was a Eucharistic visitor already, we asked if they had kits. A lot of the kits were lost. And we're actually going to be purchasing more, because most people who live off island don't want to come to the church to pick up a kit and then go visit somebody. So they will have a kit of their own, and then there'll be some as well in the sacristy. Okay, is where we're going to keep some additional kits there.
All right, I think we'll go to Wendy for her ministries.
I think you all know me. I'm the parish nurse, and I work very closely with Joanne and other members of the pastoral care as well as Bill. My ministry is visiting. I visit people. I talk to people on the phone. I visit with people here. So. I also look for volunteers. I mean, right now, if anybody is interested with the Eucharistic visitor, it's not too late to join, all right? Or if somebody is interested in just visiting, or somebody, I'm like drawing a blank here, and I shouldn't, because I do lots of different things. But driving people to appointments, because sometimes people need rides to appointments, and they're not at the point that they can drive, or they are done driving, all right? And Shell Point, if they live over there, it's very tough to get on the bus to get to a doctor's appointment. So our folks, we try and reach out, and we try and make sure that they have a ride for sure to their appointment. I also work as a liaison with some of the medical people in the hospital or in the doctor's office, trying to find people doctors, or there are times where I'll go to doctor's appointments to be that second set of ears.
Okay.
And you're working with
Oh,
families.
I work a lot with families too. So I'm working with somebody right now, trying to make sure that they're going to get the care that they both need, because there are individual needs that one has and the other is very different in what their needs are. So I try and work with that, and I talk to a lot of kids, and if there's questions that they have, if they're out of the area, they call me, asking for help in trying to arrange something or go to visit, give them feedback on the visit, which is great. You know, I was fortunate to be down here when my folks were down here, and that was the main reason that I came down here, was to be with them. And that doesn't always happen in families, you know, and they rely on their church family to help them through whatever crisis they might be in.
Thank you, Wendy. Joanne?
I probably should have been the one to start this. Pastoral Care is the big umbrella organization that both Wendy and Tom are members of, as are many of you, and some of you may not even know it. Pastoral Care is led by Father Bill and Susie Post. We've been in existence since time immemorial, since Jesus said, take care of your neighbor, love your neighbor. What we do is, and I've watched all the other forums, they're fascinating, but Pastoral Care is where we, the St. Michael's folks, take care of each other, especially those people, as Wendy and Tom have said, who are either indisposed, who are ill, who are grieving, who are sick, who can't help themselves. And we do it in any number of ways. We have a regular monthly meeting where we go over all kinds of information, especially with Wendy's help on individual people. But we cover several different areas, and I'll give you just a rundown on our agenda. We have prayer chain and prayer ministry, and we make sure that those people who want to be are being prayed for. I mean, if somebody's getting a surgery or an operation or having an illness of a grandniece or nephew, we'll pray for them. And there's a group of people who will do this religiously. Cards and notes and communication. We have a team which is led by some people, but is expanded so that there are people who will send cards and notes on a regular basis, maybe once a month. Others for people who are sick. We just found out they're sick or in the hospital, and they'll get a card or a note from St. Michael's. And we hear back from people lots of times with how good that makes them feel. I know we're in the days of the internet and all that. We will also send texts or things that are digital. But getting a card in the mail is like really special when you're not feeling too good, when you're sick or in the hospital or your family is, and you get a note from someone telling you you're thought of, you're prayed for, your friends, your family at St. Michael's is thinking of you. You're not forgotten, even if you haven't been able to get here for months or years. Bereavement and anniversary cards. I mean, many people here know what it's like to lose someone close, even a pet. But if you lose someone that you've been married to or close to, your parent, your spouse, your child, hearing from those people who you thought loved you means a whole lot. So we send out those anniversary cards, the bereavement cards, and the anniversary, a year later, we can sometimes hear from people and say, yeah, you know what, that means a lot to me. There's still some going on of trying to move on, but I just miss whoever it was who's not here anymore. And to try to let them know, well, we're still aware of that. We remember that. That's important. We started a Keeping in Touch campaign during COVID, and Wendy was super helpful in getting us all kinds of names and lists of people, and we divided them up into groups of 10 or 20, and we'd send out cards because we couldn't see anybody, but all of us wanted to stay in touch somehow. And so a variation of that now is still ongoing. We have people who will send cards or notes or communicate with people on a monthly basis. And it's kind of led by Wendy, who knows who are these people who might really relish that, as well as the people who got started communicating with those people, and they'll continue on communicating with them. The shuttle bus. We don't have a representative here, but thankfully we got our shuttle bus back in short order, an even better one than we had before. But that is a way for people to get here who couldn't under other circumstances. There's people now who are on wheelchairs who can get here and come to a service once or 4 times a month, because it runs every Sunday. And we have the drivers. We check in with the people who are leading that service, that special service, to make sure that they have what they need. But we've been doing this since the beginning, since the old shuttle bus. We check to make sure we had drivers. So if anybody wants to be a driver on occasion, contact us. We can help you out with that. Prayer shawls and the prayer crosses. We're the ones who have that going. There was a dedicated group of women and men who like to knit or sew. They have made loads and loads of shawls and dolls. There was those little dolls that came out last year after the hurricane, and those dolls were given to people. I'll tell you a story later about that, but the prayer shawls are just that. They are given to people who are hurting, who have something going on where the comfort of to wrap around them or put on their lap might mean something to them, and they come with the prayers of the people who have knitted or crocheted those shawls. Healing prayers. We've kind of put it on hold right for now for a couple reasons, but healing prayers has gone on during the services for years. That's a wonderful way just to go after communion, go out into the memorial garden. This is what we did, and we'll get back to it again. But go out into the garden and pray with somebody or a couple people who will just listen to who or what you want to pray for or be thankful for. And share that. When 2 or more are gathered in his name, it said. So you'll have 2 or more gathered out there praying with you. And then these people will remember that as the week goes on and maybe touch base with that person. Nothing ever gets repeated anywhere else. It's in confidence, but people will come out and pray for having cancer. They'll come out and pray for a grandkid who's gotten in trouble. They'll come out and pray for, thank God, everything's okay now. You know, I mean, they'll pray for everything, which is as it should be, but you have somebody out there who will pray with you about that. We have spiritual direction, which I'm not sure if too many people know about, but we have a person who's qualified, certified, trained in spiritual direction on our service, who will provide that one-to-one, either in person or on Zoom or by telephone. All you need to do is, if you're interested at any time or you know someone who might be interested in that, give us a call and we'll give you the name of the person. They'll get in touch with you, and you can have a dedicated hour just for spiritual direction. The Eucharistic visitors, Tom has done a nice job explaining that. The flower coordination is right on hold as right now because we're in Lent for one reason, but when we get the flowers back, we have like to give broken down vases, 3 vases broken out from the main altar flowers, and give them to people who are sick. They're identified by Wendy or Father Bill or Susie, or someone's having an anniversary and could use a little basket of flowers. And then meal ministry. On occasion, again, Wendy will find someone who just has a week going where, you know, they're indisposed and not able to get their own meals. We have a cadre of people who are willing to make a meal, deliver it to their house. We did this during COVID, and we just left it at the doorstep when you couldn't meet with somebody in person. But if it's, you know, helpful for someone to get a meal once in a blue moon, we'll do that. I think there's a few others that come under the umbrella as well, but that's just a basic example.
You're busy folks.
We are busy folks.
Indeed.
Can I add one thing on? We're going to be starting the flower ministry, and we do need people to step up and be able to deliver flowers. So if that's something that you're interested in, or you know of somebody who would really like to do something like that, please let us know, okay? So that we can be able to say, okay, can you deliver these to Shell Point? Can you deliver these to Larson? Can you deliver these to Cypress Cove? Or could you deliver on Island? All of that's really, really important. And we want to get back into that flower ministry. We're just a little bit, right now, because it is Lent, we don't worry so much about it, but we would like to. They've collected vases and will continue to collect vases. So just keep some of those things in the back of your mind, okay? Appointments, flowers.
I just want to add on to that. Any of these smaller, the sub-ministries that I described, same thing goes. If anything rings a bell for you or sounds like something you or somebody you know might be interested in, get in touch with any of us.
Thank you. So we often talk about ministry being rooted in a sense of call. Can you say just a little bit about how you might have felt called to the particular ministry or ministries that you engage in, a little bit about that?
Well, I'll tell you a really good short story on that. When we first came to St. Michael's, I talked to Susie Post. And she said, well, what would you like to do? And I said, I don't know, I just retired. I'm not sure what good I am at anything. But in my previous church, I sat with hospice folks for a while, and I tried to do some, you know, staying at the homeless shelters and whatnot. She said, well, what about pastoral care? I go, yeah, that sounds good. But that was the beginning. And it just, you know, all come later on. I was very pleased.
So sometimes the call comes through someone else. Is that what you're suggesting, George?
Oftentimes.
Thank you for that. Any other thoughts on the sense of call in your ministry?
Well, in June this year, it'll be 10 years that I've been in this position. And the first year was like, well, what does a parish nurse do? I can do that, but tell me what I need to do. And so, honestly, I think working with people and helping people, it always, that was the part of nursing that I loved, but this has made it all very, very real, okay, with my faith. Even my father, he was an emergency room doctor, and he always said, you know, he said, sometimes things happen, and they're miracles. You know, he had somebody who ran into the back of a car on a motorcycle, and when he took off the helmet, his head was fractured all over. And 6 months later, the guy walked in and said, thank you. Okay? Those type of things shouldn't happen, or at least in your mind shouldn't happen. And then when things happen that you don't expect, somebody young dying or that, you know, God gives us or helps us understand why. So I've learned a lot with myself, my faith, and the growth, and you all are involved in a lot of my growth, okay? Because I see things and I talk to people. It's
Thank you, Wendy. Thoughts on call time?
Yeah, I've done this in other churches, and the original, when I first was involved with Eucharistic visitor, I think it came because it sort of fits my personality. I like one-on-one visits. I enjoy getting to know people a little more deeply than I might day-to-day in church, and it just seemed like something that I could give and it would fit for others, so that was sort of my...
So one of your gifts, you might say, is being that one-to-one interpersonal connection.
I think so, yes.
Nice. Nice. Has your ministry helped you to grow in your faith in any way?
Oh, no doubt.
Deeper in your faith?
No doubt.
Just talk about that a little bit.
And it's often received. I mean, just chatting with some of these people who aren't extremists or having problems and seeing their faith through it all really builds, you know, it's where I get most of my faith, is seeing others, the faith of others and how strong it is.
Nice. Nice. Other thoughts on growing in your faith through your ministry?
Well, like I said before, I get more, I think, sometimes than I feel that I give. Because, you know, working with somebody else who has a strong faith, or even who doesn't have a strong faith. I have one of my friends, and she and I talk about the Lord, but we don't. I've invited her to church, and she said, not yet, not yet. So, you know, your faith grows. God puts you in spots where He knows you can grow. And that's the way that I feel that here, God put me here, so that's how He helps me grow.
I think that what Wendy said is true for me too. I think God has put me so many times in my life, right in the right spot at the right time, and I would have had no idea. But sometimes it's being called and someone saying or recognizing that I have some kind of skill or talent that would be helpful or beneficial, and going from there. With pastoral care, it's like, as Wendy also said, a constant back and forth. You know, yes, sure, we're maybe saying prayers and sending cards and notes and giving the shawls, but boy, what we get back is humbling. You know, they're just so grateful. It means so much. Giving the Eucharist, whether it's a Eucharistic visitor or a Eucharistic minister, and just personally giving the Eucharist to people, and you see, you know, right into their eyes. It's a direct contact with God right there. You know, it's just beautiful. So yeah, it's definitely helped my faith grow and make it strong and make it faith. It's not just a sort of tenuous, well, maybe this stuff is okay. This is, go ahead, just go with it. It's really there. There's a lot of fraction portions of what our religion and our faith is, and you're gonna find a whole lot of it that just works.
Nice. Faith isn't just a bunch of ideas floating around in your head. Faith is action, and pastoral care is faith in action, isn't it? It's that reaching out to people, and yeah, nice. Let's see. From here, other questions or comments about pastoral care? Anything for our panelists, or any other thoughts on pastoral care ministry?
Well, this is just an affirmation, because when we were in Colorado, I can't even say this without weeping because it's so precious, but when our son-in-law had a heart attack and then a stroke, and we were there for 5.5 months caring for our family, a package came from St. Michael's. And I know there were many hands in that, but prayer shawls, tiny ones for the children, holding crosses, which they still have and use, cards. It was such a surprise, but a reminder that we were being prayed for, and we were not forgotten. To your point, I'm sorry for the weeping, but it's so beautiful when you see the love of God expressed through His people. It lifted us up in ways that I can't even describe, so thank you.
Just along those same lines, kind of an affirmation thing. Most of you know that I lost Valerie a year ago, and 2 weeks ago was the anniversary of her death. And I get this card in the mail. I had gotten one initially and wasn't surprised, but I was so surprised to get a card a year later. And I talked to Carol, and it just meant so much.
A lot of people say that. It means a lot. Yeah.
So another story on the card ministry, a gentleman who isn't even a member of the church, but a person who is a church member said, could we send a card to this person who is going through cancer treatments? And so it was an extended cancer treatment, an extended illness, so he was receiving cards regularly just saying he was being held in prayer. And he told me that he put them up around his bedroom, he hung them on the wall, and every time he looked at them, he knew that he was surrounded with prayer. He put them all up. And I just thought that was so wonderful, that in the midst of the fear and the pain and everything that he was going through, he knew that there were people that were praying for him and that were thinking about him. So just, we think it's a little thing, but it really means a lot. Any other questions? We got to do this for the folks who are going to view it online.
We're visiting from Illinois, but in our previous church, we had Stephen's ministry, and we did all these kind of things. It was very rewarding.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for that. Yeah, Stephen's ministry is wonderful.
And I just want to say, it was how many years ago, Wendy? 3, maybe? I found myself in a pretty precarious position health-wise. I had some not so good physician treatment, and it ended up in a situation health-wise that took several years to straighten out, didn't it? And Wendy came to my rescue. She helped me get into Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville during COVID. I mean, it was kind of like a COVID period. And in fact, I was laying in bed with COVID making my appointment. And Mayo was an amazing experience. And they also found a way for me to get back my health. And Wendy was so instrumental in making that happen for me. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you for that, Ross.
There's no question how valuable she really is. She's been so wonderful with us.
Our healthcare system can be very difficult to navigate, can it? Those who have been involved in the healthcare system. And Wendy is a great person with resources and guidance and suggestions for how to go about getting the care that you need. Yeah. Did you have a thought, Joanne?
I was just gonna say the same thing. Wendy's been such a resource to us. She will give us a list of people that when we meet monthly, we will go over all these names. Could be 25, 30 names, and Wendy will give us the short version of what she's allowed to say. She doesn't pass anything confidential, but what she's allowed to say, so that will trigger the cards or the shawls or the prayers, certainly for people. But to give us an update, you know, for things that go on for a while, for months, so that we kind of get the feeling, okay, good, they're recognizing this. One other thing that I wanted to say with pastoral care is, we're all going to get there. We're all going to be in those people's shoes, one way or another. This is not a self-serving ministry. We're not doing it because, okay, my time will come and maybe somebody will send me a card, but it sure is nice to know that there are people who are doing it. You know, it sure is nice. And the people who are on our ministry are just very giving. They do it out of the compassion of their hearts. Nobody asks for anything in return. It's just, it's beautiful.
Yeah. We're experiencing the love of God through each other, right? We're sharing that love, as we talk about all the time, sharing that love. Especially with those who are struggling,
Right.
fearful, and all the things that go on in our lives, right? Final thoughts? Would you join me in thanking our panelists?
Can I say one last thing?
Yeah.
I want to thank Tom too, because Tom his family has donated a lot of crosses that may end up in your hand or a loved one's hand. It's made a huge difference. And also if anybody who views this is interested in picking up and being part of the prayer shawl, prayer cross ministry, please let us know, because we really do, we need a lead on that, although it hasn't stopped those busy hands. They're still coming in. The quilts and the shawls are still coming in. But we're still looking at this point for a lead for that ministry.
I want to add one more thing on that. Sure. Sometimes I don't think we realize how much they touch people that we will never meet. And the prayer shawl committee, I asked them last year if they could just make pink ones, and I would bring them to the breast cancer center down at the forum, and we did, and they went to people that we won't see in church, but we're so incredibly grateful for these little pocket shawls and the shawls in pink for Breast Cancer Month, and you have no idea what an incredible impact that has been on that center from this church.
We're bringing the church to them, right, Susan?
Yeah.
Bring that love to them. Very good. Well, join me in thanking our panelists this morning. Thank you to everybody who is either tuning in or viewing this in recorded fashion. And that concludes our